We continue on Daf Chav Zayin Amud Beis, the 3 lines from the bottom of the page. This is a Mishnah that will discuss Nedarim, similar to the halacha we learned before about a neder that a person makes, and it turns out that the aynus occurs, and because of that, the neder does not take effect. This is a similar thing where a person makes a neder, and this neder does not take effect. So Nedarim laharogin, a person makes a neder when he's in a situation where there's a yid that Nebuch is coming and threatening to kill him. He's trying to steal money from him, and he's threatening to kill him. So you make a neder to stop him from doing this, and the neder he makes is, well, let's see in a second, whether haramin, or a person that's coming to steal money from you, and you're trying to stop him from stealing, even if he's not threatening your life, but he's going to steal. And people that come to collect taxes, and you want to stop him from taking those taxes. So what is a neder the person makes? He says, Shehi truma. He says, this money here, or this produce here is truma, so don't touch it. So this individual, even though, according to some on the Mefarshim, this refers even to the person that's coming to kill you. But when you tell him it's truma, so then a person that eats truma, it's not a kayin, it's chayiv misa, so he's not going to touch it. And of course, the person that's coming to steal, or person that's coming to collect the taxes, he's not going to touch it if you tell him, if you make a neder that this is truma. Even if it's not true, and this is not truma, but you can make this neder, and it's a false neder, but nevertheless, the neder, of course, doesn't take effect, but you make this neder just to stop this person from stealing or killing you. According to others, when it says in the Mishnah in the beginning, laharogin, so you're not telling him that this is truma. It doesn't make a difference to this person. If he's a murderer, you could tell him it's truma. It's not going to change his mind. But on this person, tzarogin, you're going to have to make some other kind of neder to stop him from killing you. And here the Mishnah gives another option. Shehein shel beis hamelech. You tell the person, don't touch this produce, don't touch this. This belongs to the king. Even if it does not belong to the king. So this could be referring also to the person that's the murderer that's coming to kill you. So you tell him that I belong to the king, or this. Be careful what you do here. So he's going to get afraid of killing you if you tell him that what you have, or even you yourself, belong to the king. Beishamai say, in any way you can make any kind of a neder or say any kind of expression to answer these things from this person that you shouldn't touch it, or to save yourself, to save your own life. Chutz mi b'shvuah. But you should not use an expression of shvuah in such a situation where you're trying to save your life or trying to save your money, because shvuah is much more severe than just a neder. When Beis Hillel say it doesn't matter, af b'shvuah, you can use the expression of shvuah as well, because you're coming to save yourself, coming to save money, it doesn't make a difference. Another machlokes is Beishamai say lo yiftach lo b'neder. Do not offer this. Do not open the conversation and tell this person that's threatening you, I make a neder that this is belonging to Truma or to the king, and therefore don't touch it. Just talk to him. First try to talk to him without making this neder. If it doesn't work and he doesn't trust you, so then you want to show him that you're serious, so then you can make a neder. But you don't offer this in the beginning. Beis Hillel say, af yiftach lo. You could offer and start right away and tell him, I make a neder that this belongs to Truma, without even him asking for this. Beishamai Yomrim, a third machlokes here. Beishamai say, "B'meshahu madirai." When you're making a neder, it's only what he is demanding of you to say. When he's saying to you, "Prove it to me," and he's telling you how to make the neder in order to prove it, that's the neder you should make. The Mishnah is here going to describe this. Beis Hillel say, "Af b'meh she'einu madirai." Even what more than what this person is asking of you, you could make your neder and add more than what he's saying. What does this mean? Keisad, what happened over here? Omar Loi, this person, this ganev, this thief, or this murderer comes and tells you, Emay kainim ishti nanasli. If you want to prove to me that what you're saying is true, so you're making a neder that what you have over here belongs to Truma or belongs to the king, so make a neder that if this is not true, then your wife will be asat avanot you. So like this I can trust you. V'amar, and this person responds and says, Kainim ishti ubanenanli. He says, I'll swear even more than you, what you're demanding. Or not swear, but I'll make a neder. I'll make a neder that if it's not true what I'm saying, my wife and my children will be asa to me. So he added, he wanted to show how serious he is. Beishamai Yomrim, so Beishamai say, Ishtoi muteres. His wife, which he only made the neder because this person asked, and he wanted to show that it's true, and he's ready to make this neder, so his wife will be mutter, because he only made it for that purpose, but he didn't really mean this. But Ubanav Asurin, he himself added and said that my children should be asur to me, so that you added, so they'll be asur. Beis Hillel say, Elu ve'elu mutarin. His wife, his children will all be mutter. He just added it to show how serious and how strong his words are, so you should trust him, but he didn't mean it, so they're all going to be mutter. So the Gemara begins with one detail here of what the Mishnah said. One of the individuals that it was speaking about that was coming to attack this person is a tax collector. And the Gemara says, or the Mishnah says, you're able to make a neder to stop him from collecting your taxes. Fragt the Gemara, but Shmuel said, Dine de Malchuse Dine. The laws of the government are a law, al pitayre as well, that you're obligated to pay these taxes. So how is it that this person can come and we allow him to make a neder to stop himself from paying the taxes? An interesting thing over here that the Ram points out, that what's the reason why Dine de Malchuse Dine? Because really the whole country belongs to the king, and at any given moment he can tell you, move out of your house and I want to occupy this land. So because everything belongs to the king, so therefore whatever taxes he collects from you when he allows you to live where you live, you have to pay those taxes. But he says in Eretz Yisrael, when it comes to a Jewish king in Eretz Yisrael, because every Yid has his territory in Eretz Yisrael that actually belongs to him, because Eretz Yisrael was divided to all of Klal Yisrael, to every Shevet. So the king does not have any ownership in your land. Over there, the idea of Dina de Malchuse Diner does not apply, at least not in this sense. Interesting. There are other Rishonim though that say that the reason why we say Dina de Malchuse Diner has nothing to do with the ownership of the actual territory that the king owns, but it's the fact that you have a country and the people, and they accept the laws of the government in order for people to be able to live with law and order. So the very fact that you live in this country, that everybody accepts this, you have to keep those laws. Amar Rav Chinene, Amar Rav Kahane, Amar Shmuel. So he answers and explains that we're not talking about a regular tax collector. We're talking about a tax collector that knows no limits. So there's two interpretations to this. The Rosh Hashanah brings, either this means that the king is sending him to collect taxes which doesn't have a specific amount, doesn't have a certain bracket of how much you're going to have to pay. So because it's a limitless, so this he can come and collect to you anything he wants. The king hires a person to collect taxes without any limitation of what it is. So that such a kind of a tax is, there's no din of the Malchuse Dina. Others say, the Rosh, I believe, brings a second shot as well. Ein lekitzva means that there is a certain amount that you have to pay for the taxes. But this person that's collecting the taxes is taking advantage. He knows no limits of how much he's going to be taking. So he's a ganav, basically. He's taking more than even than the king wants him to take. So therefore, for such a thing, you can make a neder to stop him from collecting these taxes. The Be'er Rabbi Yana Yomar, in the Shiva of Rabbi Yana, they explained, this is not even a tax collector that was hired by the king. This is a tax collector that gets up on his own, and he's collecting taxes. Nobody asked him, nobody told him, he's collecting taxes. So therefore he's basically a ganav. Some say that he's even collecting those taxes that are owed to the king, but nobody appointed you. Who are you to collect the taxes? I'll decide when I pay the taxes. Okay, then it said in the Mishnah that he makes a neder, shehein shel beis hamelech, that it belongs to the king. Afal pi she'ein shel beis hamelech, even if it's not true, it does not belong to the king. He's just saying this neder in order to stop this person from collecting these taxes, or from stealing it, or from killing him. Okay, so now the Gemara wants to understand what is that exactly the language of the neder that the person is saying. Heichi nodar. What is the neder that this person says? Is the neder that this person is saying is, I make a neder that this belongs to the king? There's no such a neder. What does a neder usually mean? A neder means I make something osir. That's what a neder is. If we were making a shavua, then this makes sense. I swear that this belongs to the king. I swear that this belongs to Truma. But he's making a neder. So what does the neder here mean? Amarav Amram Amarav. What the person says is, Ya'asru peiris ha'olam alai. His neder is, he says to this person here, that all paytas of the world should be asa to me im einan shel beis hamelech, if this does not belong to the king. So he's trying to show to him and prove to him that what he's saying is true. So he's saying, I accept upon myself a neder, everything in the world should be asa to me if this does not belong to the king. But the Gemara asks that if so, this neder should actually take effect. Kivin de ama ye asru. Once a person actually says this, that all the paytas of the world should be asa to me, itzru aleh kol peitel alma. All the paytas of the world should become asa to him. So what the Gemara is asking is, as the Ran explains, even if this is a situation of an einus, but nevertheless, if you make this neder and you say such clear words that all paytas of the world should be asa to me, it should become asa, even in this situation of an einus. So how could a person make this neder? So the Gemara explains, Ba'omer hayom. The reason it doesn't become asa to him is because when he makes the neder, he says, all these paytas will become asa to me today. But they're not asa for me forever, just today. So therefore, they won't be asa for him only for that day. Fragt the Gemara, that can't be what the Mishnah is speaking about, because if he's telling this thief that I can guarantee you that what you want to take belongs to Hektish, or belongs to Trumah, or belongs to the Melech, and he says, otherwise all the payers of the world will be also to me today. So then this tax collector will not even accept what he's saying. All you paid is just today. That's not something serious. So why is it even meaningful? So the Gemara explains, the case over here is, not that he's actually saying the word hayayim. In his heart he's thinking that the Isser of the Peiris, which is his neder, should be only today. Umaitzi bisfasav stam. But what he actually says is, he says the world, the Peiris of the world should be asa to me, and he doesn't specify when they should be asa to him. If he would specify clearly and say that the Peiris of the world should be asa to me forever, la'olam, so then even if he thinks in his heart, hayayim, just today, it's not going to help, because he verbally said clearly forever. If he would say clearly by mouth, hayayim, so then obviously it means only today, but then it's not going to help you, because this tax collector is not going to take your word seriously. So what he says is stam. He says, these payers should be asa to me. When? For how long? He doesn't specify. And over here, we say, v'afagav the sfirulan, even though usually we do say, dvarim shebalev ein dvarim. If you're thinking in your heart that it should only be asa today, that's just words of the heart. It's insignificant, even though you didn't spell out that what you're referring to. But usually, if a person doesn't give any date, he doesn't say only today. What does it mean when you say stam? Stam means forever. So even if you would be thinking hayayim in a usual circumstance, the neder would take effect forever. Shani. Over here, when you make this neder, and in your heart you're thinking that it means today, it will be only today. Because of the circumstance of the aynus, it's clear that you meant only today. It's clear that you're only trying to push off this person from collecting it for the taxes, and you didn't mean forever. Then it's brought in the Mishnah, the opinions of Beishamai, Basil. The Gemara quotes here, Beishamai Emrim Bakoil, you can make a neder, a shvuah, Beishamai Emrim. The next thing Beishamai said, Bameshu Madiroi, that you make the neder only what this person is telling you to make the neder. Even what he does not ask you, you can add and more in your neder to show how serious you are. Keitzad, as the Mishnah said, he says, make a neder that your wife would be also to you, and he adds and says, my wife and my children would be also to me. Bishami said that his wife would be mutter and his children, that this person did not ask him to make the neder for this, will be also. Basil will say they would all be mutter. So the Gemara brings a brayse that seems to say different than what it said in the Mishnah. Omer Ravuna, so Ravuna said, Tana in a brayse we learned, Bishamai say, Lo yiftach lo b'shvuah. You may not open with a shvuah without this person asking you to make a shvuah about what you're saying. You may not offer to swear about what you're saying. Basil will say, Af yiftach lo b'shvuah. You may also offer and open up and make a shvuah that this paytas belongs to Trumah or to the Beis HaMelech or to the king. So the Gemara now explains, what do we see here from this brayse? It's different than what it said in the Mishnah. Le Beishamai, according to Beishamai, what does he say? B'shvuah hudula yiftach lo. When it comes to swearing, which is more severe than a neder, so you may not offer this on your own. Ha ben neder, but it seems like from what Beishamai is saying here, that if you're only using a notion of a neder, a vow, yiftach lo. So then you may offer to make a neder to this person to show how serious it is what you're saying, even without him requesting this. But what do we learn in our Mishnah? In the Mishnah it said, Beishamai Oimrim, Lo yiftach lo beneder, that you may not open, you may not offer to make a neder. You just have to say what you're saying, that this belongs to the king. If he doesn't believe you, then you can make a neder. But in the Mishnah it's mashma that you may not offer anything on your own, not a neder, not a shvuah. In the Brayse it's mashma that you may offer to make a neder. V'su, another question, which what it says here in the Brayse is different than what it says in the Mishnah. Miftach chud lo yiftach lo b'shvuah. From the Brayse it seems that you may not open up with a shvuah. Ha made another b'shvuah. But however, if he does not, if he's requesting this from you, this individual, so then you may use the language of a shvuah to prove what you're saying. You may not offer to use such a severe lashon of a shvuah on your own, but if he's asking for it to show how serious you are, you may use a lashon of a shvuah. But what did it say in the Mishnah? Beishamai say, Bakoil Nedarim chutz mi b'shvuah. From the Mishnah it seems to be saying you could only use the lashon of a neder, and never, even if he's asking for this, you could never use the lashon of a shvuah. So that's what it says here in the Brayse seems to be more lenient in the opinion of Beishamai than what it says in the Mishnah. So the Gemara explains that's not a contradiction. Tanamas Nisin ben Neder. The Mishnah says that regarding a neder, that you may not make a neder, you may not open up, that is, you may not open up with the lashon of a neder. It's to let you know how far Beis Shammai's opinion goes. That even when it comes to a neder, you may not open up with a neder. That's what the Mishnah is coming to say. The Mishnah is coming to show you how much Beis Shammai is being machmer, that even though a neder is not as severe as a shvuah, you may not open up with the lashon of a neder. And Tana Braisa b'Shvuah, the Braisa, when it speaks about that you may not open up with a Shvuah, even though really, like we see from the Mishnah, according to Beis Shammai, you may not open up, you may not offer even to make a neder. But it's saying that you may not offer to make a Shvuah, because it wants to point out that Beis Hillel, which argues how lenient he is. Beis Hillel is so lenient that he says that not only you may offer him without him asking, you may offer him to use a lashon of a neder, you may even offer to use a lashon of a Shvuah. So the Mishnah is stressing the stringency of Beis Shammai, and the Braisa is saying it differently to stress the leniency of Beis Hillel, but there's no contradiction here. Rav Ashi has a completely different answer. He says, we misunderstood this Braisa that Rav Huna quoted. Hachi Katani, this Braisa is speaking about a completely different thing. Beis Shammai are saying, Ein she'ela b'shvuah. When a person makes a shvuah that something would be aser, you cannot open up. When it said before, the lashon of lo yiftach lo b'shvuah, it means you can't open it, you can't request a heta for this. If you remember, we learned before in the Gemara, there's an opinion that when it comes to a shvuah, there's no heta for a shvuah. That's what it's saying here. And Beis Hillel said, yes, she'ela b'shvuah, that you could request a heter even for a shvuah. Nothing to do with the point that we're talking about over here in the Mishnah regarding this person that's making a shvuah or a neder in a case where he's being threatened, he's dealing with a thief and so on. Mishnah. Another case over here where a person makes a neder, and this is somebody Shainim say this is similar to the nidrei shgogis we have before. A person that made a neder, and really the neder is a mistake. Let's see. Person says, "Harei nitiyas ha'elu carbon." These trees that are growing here, I dedicate the money that I will make from it to be a carbon. If these trees are not going to be cut down, they're not going to be torn out from the ground. What's this talking about? So as we'll see in the Gemara, we're talking over here about a person that there's a tremendous hurricane, and he sees that it's going to tear out his trees from the ground. And so he says, if the Eibishter helps me, and these trees do not get torn out of the ground, then I make a neder that I will give from the value of these trees for a neder, for a carbon.
The value.
Yeah, from the money of these trees, I will give it for, if they don't get cut down, I will give it for a carbon. Or similar, as Gemara will explain, there's a fire burning, and there's a talis, there's a garment, there's his clothing. He says, talisu carbon, this talis I dedicated to be a carbon, or he's going to use the money for a carbon, im einan isrefes, if it won't get burnt there in the fire. So what happens? The Mishnah says, yesh lan pidyon. The neder takes effect, and in order for you to be able to now use this money from these things for yourself, you're going to have to redeem it from the hektish. This neder of a carbon took effect. What if the person says, Harei netiyas elu carbon, these trees over here should be dedicated for a carbon at sheyiktetzu, until it gets cut down. Or he says, talazu carbon, this talis should be dedicated to be for a carbon at shetisarif, until it gets burnt. Okay, so then, ein lam pidyon, over here, the hektish that he just dedicated does take effect, and it takes effect even stronger. It takes effect, and he could never redeem it. Okay, the Gemara will explain, there's two opinions in the Gemara what this means. We'll see, but over here, this is a different kind of a lashon of a neder. This is a stronger neder, and it takes effect in a way that you can never redeem this. Frek the Gemara. So the difference between the beginning, the Reisha and the Sefer was whether the hektish takes effect and whether you can redeem it or not. So, frek the Gemara velisni, in the Reisha of the Mishnah, let it use a different expression. Why does it say that you could redeem it? It should have said kedoshais ve'en kedoshais. It should have used a different terminology, more clear. It should have said that in the Reisha it's hektish, and the hektish takes effect. Now, this lashon of the Gemara, the question is a bit difficult, because when it says kedoshais, that's understood. But the Gemara is asking in the Reisha, instead of saying yesh lam pidyon, that it could be redeemed, a clearer way of saying is that the hektish takes effect. But when it says in the Gemara ve'en kedoshais, what is the Gemara referring to? And the Sefer it should say ein kedoshais. On the contrary, in the Sefer it's even more hektish. You can't even redeem it. So some take this out. Here Taisa says you're not goydis vein kedoshos. Some say that the Gemara is asking in the Reisha itself, because in the Reisha it's a kind of hektish that you could redeem. So in the Reisha it could have said that it's kedoshos vein kedoshos, that it's hektish, but it's such a kind of hektish that you have the option to redeem it, and it should not be hektish. That's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara answers, I did the boy lemisna seifa. Because in the Seifa of the Mishnah, it wants to say, Ein lam pidyon, that it's hektish to the point that you cannot redeem it, and that's the only way it could say this, that it can't be redeemed. So Tanina Mereisha, in the Reisha as well, instead of just saying clearly that it is hektish, it says Yesh lam pidyon. It says that it could be redeemed, as opposed to the Seifa where it can't be redeemed. Okay, now the Gemara will clarify exactly what this person said in his neder. Heichi nodar. What exactly is the neder that the person said over here? What's the circumstance? What's the lashon of the neder that the person says? What's the person saying? The neder in the Mishnah over here was, he says that if this tree does not get cut down, so then it should be hektish. What is that supposed to mean? The tree doesn't get cut down on its own. Why should it get cut down? What was this person saying? So the Gemara explains, like I said before in the Mishnah, the circumstance here. Omar Meimar, so Meimar says, what he says is, he's not saying if it never gets cut down. He's saying today, if it doesn't get cut down today. And then the day passes, and today it did not get cut down, so it becomes hektish. So the Gemara asks, so what's the chiddush of the Mishnah? Pshita, obviously, if the person says, if this tree in my field does not get cut down today, so then the value of this tree should be hektish. So obviously, he made a condition. The condition was fulfilled, and it becomes hektish. What's the chiddush of this Mishnah? So the Gemara explains, the chiddush here is, there's a very strong wind. And he's saying that the hektish should take effect if this wind will not tear out my tree from the ground. So over here, there's a chiddush in the Mishnah, because you may think when the person makes this kind of a neder, he sees this huge hurricane, and he almost thinks it's going to be a miracle if this tree doesn't get uprooted. And he's not expecting the tree to remain connected to the ground. So when he made the neder, he wasn't really serious. He was expecting this tree to get uprooted. So therefore, even if a miracle happens and his tree is saved, maybe the hektish shouldn't take effect. This should be like the Nedarim that we learned before on this Perek, a neder which was a mistake, something that he didn't expect to happen. So that's the chiddush, that the neder does take effect. So the Gemara says, according to most mefarshim, the Gemara is actually not asking a question. It's bringing a raya to this pshat from the next case of the Mishnah. We can understand this also from what we learned afterwards in the Mishnah, Gabe Talis, what the person said regarding the talis. What did he say regarding the talis? If this talis does not get burnt, then the value of it should be for hektish. Now, the talis, what is he saying? Why should this talis get burnt? The talis just gets burnt automatically? Even if you're going to say by a tree, eventually, after a number of years, it gets cut down, so maybe that would make sense. But regarding a talis does not get burnt. So what are we talking about over here? So the answer is yes. What we're talking about is similar to what we said in the previous case. If there's a wind threatening the tree, so over here there's a fire that's threatening to burn this talis. So, and the person made the neder. He says, if my garments get saved from this fire, I dedicate the value of it for hektish. So over there, the chiddush is that even though he may have thought that it's too late, the fire is going to burn it, and he didn't expect that it will get saved, and it got saved, nevertheless, the hektish takes effect. Hochanami, the same as the pshat in the Reisha as well, the ikke zike nefisha, that there's a big wind, and v'salka daitoch, I would think to say, the masika daitei, that what this person was really thinking is, the loy misnatzlan, that they're not going to be saved from the wind or from the fire. Or mishumhachi kanadar. And therefore he made the neder. He's almost like davening to Hashem. He's making this neder, but he doesn't really mean this neder seriously. Kamash malan, that's the chiddush. That nevertheless we say that the neder that the person said regarding the wind and regarding the fire that's happening here, the neder does take effect. Yeah. And it's not considered to be a mistake.